Students, welcome to Digital Arts. Warning, this is not a costume. And yes, I must warn you that this class is not easy. You're going to be doing 4 projects in Inkscape. Inkscape is a vector program. It uses mathematical formulas. You learn about vectors in math and physics. You might remember how odd and unintuitive they seemed. This program uses that technology. It's a lot like Adobe Illustrator. But if you think that's cool, you might be in the right place. What Inkscape is not, it's not a paint program. It's not Adobe Photoshop, Metabang, GIMP, Krita, Pinta, Fire Alpaca, MyPaint. It's not a pixel program. And it's not a raster program. It's not a bitmap program. Pixel, raster, and bitmap, they're all kind of synonymous. What's the difference? Let's find out. Please, don't fall asleep in this video. Pay attention.
So I hope this will clear some things up for users of all levels. So let's get started. A raster image is made up of square pixels arranged in a grid. All digital photographs, for example, are pixel-based raster images. So here I have a photo open in Photoshop, and when I zoom in, you can start to see the individual pixels that make up the image. A vector image, on the other hand, is made up of mathematically described objects such as points, paths, strokes, and fills. Here I have a vector illustration open in Adobe Illustrator, and I can move or alter these objects individually. I can adjust the paths by manipulating the individual points to change the shape of the objects. Vectors have an underlying structure that is made up of these paths and shapes that can be filled or stroked with different colors, gradients, and patterns. So even if I alter the appearance of the object by changing its fill color, or its stroke color, or changing it to a pattern, that underlying structure remains the same. Here's a demonstration that explains the difference in a very basic way. Let's say you want to draw a simple curved line. For a raster image to describe that curve, it would have to use individual pixels, which again are arranged in a grid. A vector, on the other hand, tells the computer to place one point at the beginning of the line, another at the end, then draw the curve between them. The shape and direction of the curved line is described mathematically. So you can see that with something like this, the vector is the most efficient solution. It's kind of like giving someone directions to your house. You don't say, take a step, then take another step, then take another step, then take another step, and so on. You say, start here, walk to the end of the street, and make a right turn. Because vectors are mathematically described, they are resolution independent. This means they don't rely on DPI, or dots per inch, for their quality. A raster image has to have a certain pixel resolution in order to look good. Here's what I mean. I have a logo open in Illustrator. We're viewing it at 100% magnification, and it's a vector file, as you can see by the paths. Now, even if I zoom in to over 500%, you can see that the edges are smooth and crisp. I'll zoom in again to almost 1600%, and again, nice, smooth, sharp edges. Now, I want to pause here and mention something that can be a little hard to grasp. We are, of course, viewing this graphic on a computer screen, and computer screens are made up of pixels. So it can be confusing to think of a non-pixel-based, resolution-independent vector graphic that's being displayed on a screen of pixels. But if you print this vector, whether on a postage stamp or on a billboard, it will still look sharp. Here's that same logo as a raster file in Photoshop. We're viewing it at 100%, but even if I enlarge it to 200%, it starts to look fuzzy. And it looks even worse at higher magnifications because the resolution of the raster is simply not high enough. Computer fonts are another kind of vector file. They too have mathematical information in them, so they can look sharp at any size. You can of course use type in Photoshop, and this is one of the areas in which vectors are used inside of that application. First, let's look at Illustrator. Here I have some live type, and I can select it with my type tool and change the point size, for example. And when I zoom in on it, it's nice and sharp. Here's that same logo in Photoshop. The type is also live, and I'm going to select it and change its point size as well. In the Layers panel, as long as you see this T icon, that means this is live vector type. If I go over to the Layers menu, I can choose to rasterize the type. So now that turns it into pixels, and you can see the transparent icon in the Layers panel. And when I zoom in, you can see the pixels, and at a magnification higher than 100%, it just doesn't look very good. So by rasterizing the type, Photoshop has done away with the vector information and turned it into pixels. So when are you most likely to use these two kinds of images? The following is not a comprehensive list, and of course there are always exceptions, but in general, you would use a raster image for continuous tone photos, as we saw before, or textured backgrounds that have a wide tonal range, or digital paintings that have been produced with a graphics tablet and a program like Corel Painter or Adobe Photoshop. Vectors are generally better for images that have flat color and hard edges, such as logos, business cards and other designs that have a lot of typography, and screen printing, because with the screen printing process, you can't get a continuous tone. Common file formats for rasters are PSD or Photoshop, TIFF, and JPEG. On the vector side, common file formats are AI, that is the native Illustrator format, EPS, which stands for Encapsulated PostScript, and SVG, or Scalable Vector Graphics. Now, of course, people create incredibly realistic vector illustrations using gradients, blends, and gradient mesh, and there are some people who insist on using Photoshop to design business cards. So there's definitely some overlap. But in general, there are big differences, and there are different uses for each format. To review, raster files are made up of pixels arranged in a grid. Vectors are mathematically described objects. Rasters have a specific resolution, which affects the quality of the image. Vectors are resolution independent, meaning they look good at any size. And generally, raster images have a larger file size than vectors. Well, I hope this has helped you understand these two essential file formats.
Projects. The first project is designing a textbook cover. Everything in this class needs to be 100% original work. We don't do any copy or pasting from the web. We don't use photographs in this class. So here are some examples of 100% all original digital art textbook covers. Woo! Project 2, the trace and fill a character. This is a big one. And the key to using the pencil tool is smoothness. Yes, it's a pretty big deal because if you don't adjust your smoothness, your art is going to look like this and you are going to feel absolutely miserable just getting this pathetic looking design. Seriously, when you adjust the smoothness, it's like, wow, it doesn't matter what I do, it looks good. So here are some examples of what I mean. Beautiful. And then the Bezier tool. This is the pen tool, and it is the most challenging part about using a vector program. Sometimes students, when you're doing all of the lessons that are in there, because you learn a lot more than what we do as projects. When you're doing those lessons, you're going to learn a little bit about how to trace a bitmap and make a curve path out of it. But when you do that, it's cheating. It's not learning to use the Bezier tool. So do know that when you're asked to do a certain task objective, you need to do that objective. You're not going to get credit if you do something else besides mastering the objective. I hope that makes sense. It can be like the most incredible design that you did, and I've seen them. They're amazing. And then it really is hard for me because I can't give credit because the student didn't master the pen tool. And then they're mad at me, but I'm trying to just warn you ahead so that that doesn't happen. Don't set me up. Don't put me in a bad position so I'm the bad guy. All right, so here are some awesome examples of pen tool. Oh, look at this. You guys, I just am amazed every block at the incredible artwork I get to see and share with you. And I will share every single artwork that is turned in. Yes, on time. If yours is super late, obviously you're going to miss the deadline and won't get your work into the critique, but we do critique all of the work. It's awesome. Project 4 is it's an optional project. It's going to come really late in the block, but if you're wanting some extra credit work, you could create an original character, you could design a Lynx logo, you could design a holiday card. So be already thinking Project 4 is just like some icing on the cake, some gravy on the mashed potatoes. So Project 4 examples, amazing, 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 amazing. And we actually have a parent right now that is sifting through the block 1 submissions and is making t-shirts with student artwork. So I'm so psyched about that. Here's some cards. And there might be a delay in this video. I got a new microphone and I have to take it back. It'll be my 3rd microphone, but I get a delay every time I make a video now with this new mic. So sorry if everything's off. CTE Career Pathways students, there are weekly lessons in the Inkscape tutorials. If you're on this pathway, you need to do these, okay? There's a lot more to learn in Inkscape than what you learn in the 4 projects. So please make sure that you are doing those. And there's a test every single week in this class, but I'm telling you what, you probably just want to like self-pace your test and get through all of those tests as soon as possible, especially considering on your project weeks, which is going to be like weeks 2, is it week 2, 4, 6, and 8? Yeah, the even number weeks, you're not going to want to have to do like lessons and tests at the same time as projects, right? You want to be able to spend a good 3 to 5 hours working on your projects. So make sure you plan ahead, use your time wisely, work an hour a day in this class. Attendance, we meet once a week on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. So make sure if you have another class that's scheduled at the same time that you request the yellow track application via email. And you also need to just attend 1 class. Please don't attend more than 1 class because it's disrespectful to teachers to be sitting in their classroom and not be engaging, if that makes sense. It's also disrespectful to your classmates. It doesn't create a very nice class culture when there's a ton of people who are not engaged. It's kind of sickening. So don't do that, okay? Don't be that person. If you've been that person, just stop being that person, all right? Just watch the recording and do the work when you have time. 1 class per week. Yes, I know 1 class is not a week to learn digital arts, and that is the reason why you need to watch the videos that are posted. You need to do the lessons, okay? You've got to do a lot of work independently in this class, all right? And then during our classes, that's a really good time for you guys to come in and get help. So make sure that you are doing your due diligence so that when you come to class, you are full of the questions that you need answered, if that makes sense. Also, just, please, before you start asking me questions, just please watch the videos first. Please read the directions first. I often can anticipate what your questions are going to be, and I will answer the questions in the videos. So just do your part before you ask questions, okay? Because all I'm going to have to do is just say, hey, go watch that video. It answers that question. And this is what it's like to use Inkscape for the very first time. It is literally like trying to mow a lawn with the grass is like waist high, okay? And you might need some help. And if you do need some help, email is the slowest way to get help. It takes up to 24 hours to get a response back from a teacher. I mean, if I'm super slammed or I've got, a professional development training, something's going on, teachers have a lot of stuff going on. You might not get a response for like 24 hours. So if you need help now, then you better call me or send me a text, okay? If you are sending emails to get help, sometimes it kind of gives a teacher the impression that you're not really serious about getting help. Like you don't really want help. You don't really want to do the project. You're just trying to make it look like you're doing, your due diligence. If you really want help, you would be like, Mom, give me the phone. I need to call Mrs. Girot right now. I need help. All right, so right now, go ahead and pause this video and add my number to your contacts. I am Rachel Girot, R-A-C-H-E-L-G-I-R-O-T. It's French, so the T is silent. Go ahead and program me in your phone right now, and then send me a text right now. I want these things in your text message. This is going to show me that you actually watched this video and were paying attention. I want your first and last name, then your learning coach's first name, and the name of this class, Digital Arts 1. If you do not send me a text message, that means your family does not have a cell phone. In that case, just email me and tell me what the best way to get into contact with you is. And number 2, if you didn't send me a text, then that means that you didn't complete this orientation, and I know you're not serious about doing this class and probably need to be switched to a different class. Email protocol, this is pretty important, okay? All of the teachers here have a lot of students, and we also sometimes teach more than one class. Like I have 3 classes right now. So it's pretty important that you have a really detailed subject line, and this is for any time you ever send an email, okay? It really helps the receiver of your email to just get acclimated to what it is that we're talking about here. First, your first initial and your last name, and then the name of your class, Digital Arts, and then what the subject is, right? And be specific in your email. Don't ever say things like, I need help on the test. Seriously, that does not help a teacher help you at all. You've got to be very specific. For example, on the week 2 test, question number 4, can you help me understand what that question is trying to ask? Because I did the week 2 lesson and I just can't find the answer. That type of thing. Then I can help you. Download Inkscape. This has to be done today. Don't procrastinate. Watch the video below in this orientation folder, okay? And it's going to show you how to download Inkscape. If you mess it up, it's obviously not going to open up, right? So it probably wasn't installed completely. If that's the case, uninstall it and start over from scratch, okay? 100% of times that students have come to me and said my Inkscape won't open it, I've said uninstall it and try reinstalling it. And guess what? 100% of the time, it has worked. We also have a tech support number, and this needs to be auto dial on your phone, 866-K12-CARE, speed dial, I mean. Get that in your phone. If you have technical issues, you need to call right now. And then you're also going to complete the week 1 assignment. Now, you don't have to finish the entire assignment. You just need to work on it for like 45 minutes up until Thursday. Thursday is coming quick. Up until Thursday, and then you've got to submit what you got done. The reason why I want you to do that assignment is not to punish you. The assignment is designed to get you used to what type of a program Inkscape is, because you might get in there and realize, whoa, this is not my cup of tea and I do not want to take this class. Believe me, that happens a lot of the time. And you know when it usually happens? It usually happens in about week 4 when students have finally gotten around to downloading it. And at that point, guess what? It is too late to withdraw from this class. You need to withdraw from this class in week 1. If you discover that this is not going to work for you, if you will not be successful in this class for any reason, lack of motivation, lack of interest, lack of Inkscape being able to function on your computer properly, you've got to do it right now. We can't procrastinate. That's the reason why it's important that you do this orientation today. And then there is a survey in there that I want you to complete, and I only want you to complete that after you have installed and started working in the week 1 assignment. You need to get in there and figure out whether or not you want to take this class. That's what that survey is about. There's also an orientation quiz, and I need you to take that right now. You need a B or higher on that quiz to show me that you watched this video. Anything less than a B is a clear indication that you didn't watch the video. If you were just skimming through it and not actually paying attention, you're going to get like a C, a D, or E, or an F, okay? If you've been watching it, you'll get an A or a B. Yeah, sometimes you miss a question. But you also have this video that you can pause and rewind and look for the answers, right? And that'd be the responsible thing to do. So if you have any questions, make sure that you text me. And yeah, we are all going to have some serious fun in this class. If this is like your cup of tea and you're like, yeah, I'm up for this challenge. I'm gonna learn Inkscape. Woo! We're gonna have fun.